When you hire a penetration testing company, you're essentially inviting professional hackers to break in and pull out any sensitive data that they could find. So how can you ensure that your data is protected during a penetration testing engagement? More on this after the intro. Mick put out an excellent article, and it's called How is My Data Protected During and After Pen Testing? And I can speak from firsthand experience here. When we go on in client engagement, we uncover a lot of things, whether it's credentials for accounts, lists of users, detailed IP addresses and DNS names, network configurations, payment card, financial information, anything remotely sensitive or anything that remotely could be considered PII or protected health or PHI, protected health information like diagnoses and health records, or whether it is something that's critical to the business, whether it's source code or other trade secrets. We have found it in an engagement. So if you are getting a pen test conducted, how can you ensure that your data is protected? Well, whoever you get your penetration testing done by, your vendor, ask them about their data retention and deletion policy. They should be at the ready to give you either a written statement from something that they have internally, or they have something ready to show you how they're handling your data during the engagement. There is an implicit trust here that needs to be respected and it needs to be earned. The three pillars that we have for our data retention policy is discretion, confidential and responsible transmission and storage of evidence, and a strict retention policy. Moving on to number 1, discretion. So, discretion is at all levels of the organization from the top down. If you put a gun to my head and ask me to rattle off every single client that we have and when we work for, I cannot do it. I really cannot. The reason for this is because in day-to-day communications, when interacting with other consultants, we refer to clients by their code name. So we respect the confidentiality of our clients. If some of them want to endorse us, that is fine. But on our end, we don't disclose the many organizations that we work for. This is a policy that we apply to everyone. This not only applies to just who we work for, but also active day-to-day interactions during an engagement. So for example, when we're actually taking screenshots of the various findings that we uncover, often we will redact passwords that are written in plain text or other things that are sensitive even when writing it into the report. A tester should never knowingly weaken the overall general security of the systems being tested. So when we go on an engagement, we want to make sure that we don't have to exfiltrate everything possible. Often it's more than enough just to exfiltrate the minimum amount just to craft a POC. Now we're moving on to storage and transmission methods. Now this is essential. All client data, regardless of where it came from, how we got it, when stored in our systems, it needs to be encrypted at rest and in transit, period. Some people who are just getting the pen test done for the first time may be like a little put off that once we're done from a penetration testing engagement, we don't email back the report immediately. Project managers get just trying to wonder why they have to sign into a secure portal in order to download the penetration testing report. The reason for this is because we want to be absolutely sure that when we are either storing or transmitting client data, that it is encrypted. And encryption is the best way to ensure that it is both confidential and secure. In terms of actual storage, has AES 256 minimum. I've seen other consultants try to up that to a higher bit length algorithm, so AES 512. Strong encryption will be used to protect data at rest, and we also ensure that during an engagement, we make sure that it is encrypted in transit as well. I can give you an example. So we often do pen tests through a VPN connection, so through a virtual private network that has multi-factor authentication built in. And we also make sure that if we're downloading data, that we would use an SSH connection to exfiltrate and through that VPN tunnel. We make sure that all data that we transmit and store, anything confidential that we find during a pen test, is stored securely and responsibly in transmission and storage. Now moving on to the retention and deletion policy. Some of this I'm reading straightforward from the internal document that we share. It is important that we know when to hold on to something and when to delete it. So if many clients come back to us after 2 or more weeks as like, oh, can you give us another screenshot of this finding or that finding? And it may take us a while to actually respond on right away. And that's because evidence is removed from like laptops and local machines at 2 weeks after the report is delivered. Period. We may retain it internally in a securely configured S3 bucket. That evidence is destroyed every 120 days. And if we're talking about vulnerability scanning software, anything that we would find with Nessus or other things, that stuff is gone in 3 months. And the penetration testing report at the end of it is only retained in our client-facing portal for 13 months. 1 year, 1 month. All of these retention policies are automatically enforced. So we don't have like an intern that may drop the ball and keep things longer than they should have. All of this is automated enforcement, not only at the local machine level, but also in the remote systems that we will be using to store and transmit data. That ties us into our conclusion. So the goal of a penetration test from start to end is to improve a client's security posture. This means that ensuring that all testing data is responsibly handled. We do this every day by exercising discretion with data uncovered during a pen test, as well as secure and responsible transmission and storage, and a strict, automatically enforced retention and destruction policy. And that brings us to the end of another Knowledge Center article. Subscribe to the channel and share this video if you got something out of it. If you're interested in finding out everything you can on pen testing, just check out our other Knowledge Center articles. This is O'Shawn Marshall reminding you to stay professionally evil.